Hello everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. How are we doing? Welcome. I'm Wardy, bringing you some more StarCraft 2 action today. You got a series from the Africa World number 36, or the Africa Blitz is one of the larger tournaments that Africa have done in this series. As we have to the bottom right hand side, our red Terran player TY from Splice, and to the top left, our blue Zerg Rogue from Jinnair in a group stage matchup best of 3. This tournament series put on by Laughing Games. He has a YouTube channel, and if you want to watch any of the other VODs from this tournament, I'm sure you can probably find those over on his YouTube. I'll try and find a link to put down below in the description. But in general, you can find the rest of this tournament on his channels, as he's the caster for these things, and he organizes them and all that good stuff. So, shout out to that guy. We got hands on the replays via the Match Arena page for the tournament, where you're able to support the tournament a little bit. So, I'm not sure if that's still up, and you can still get these replays, but of course, in the future, keep your minds on that. Match Arena is always a great way to support these tournaments, help push things just a little bit further. So, with that said, how about we dig our teeth into a little bit of this TvZ here today? Because, well, I mean, it's an exciting one. I feel like we've already cast TY Rogue as a series before in a YouTube exclusive, but I think every time these guys play, it's always a very good series, because you expect TY to be so good at that late game, to play that macro sort of style. You know, that's how TY plays. You know, that's what we expect from him. This really awesome late game, solid control throughout the macro, just unstoppable. But then you've got Rogue, who doesn't, doesn't shy away from macro situations, but also doesn't let you get to macro situations in the most standard of ways. So, setting up into this and looking to see how things are gonna go. As we see the command center dropping down to the natural in this overlord here from Rogue, heading down to the bottom side of the map as well to try and see just what's going on. So early game scouting, getting set up, and really I think eyes on Rogue as to what he's going to do, because he really will sometimes play roaches against bio as an opening, be aggressive, those sort of attacks. Whereas I really expect from TY, I mean, maybe not a free CC right away, but some build that leads him into a fairly fast third command center, probably along the lines of, get the starport up, maybe it's a hellbat attack. Just your typical sort of, I'm going to harass a little bit while setting up into the next stage of the game. That's what I'm expecting here from TY. And Kyra's Junction, a very regular standard map. A very good map from mech as well. So if TY wants to crack out the mech style here, definitely could do. Also works quite nicely for bio this map because of the push potential into the bases. And it's not super easy to expand up to 5 or 6 bases, so the bio can really pin the Zerg back for a while and keep them from taking those later game bases for a while, until they really kind of get that late game setup going. And at that point, as the Terran, you can sort of get your own late game setup going quite nicely. This forward base actually becomes a very interesting one to hold as a Terran player. And we've actually seen more recently Terran players starting to expand through the bottom side of the map. So you take your natural here, and you think oftentimes the third base comes here, very rarely here. But if you take a third base down here, you should expect the fourth base up here. Recently we've seen third base here, fourth base here, and that just gives you this kind of bottom right corner to cover. And it's actually only 1, 2, and 3 attack paths. I mean, maybe this one as well, arguably, but maybe if you take this area as a whole, it's about 3 attack paths in, whereas if you take the 4 bases 1, 2, 3, and 4, you've got this right-hand side, you've got this side from 2 different angles as well, and this ramp up here. So you actually have a lot further to cover the 3rd and the 4th base. So that bottom side of the map seems to be a lot more popular lately, and has been giving us a lot of interesting little situations. There is a fairly fast roach run from Rogue. Now, I don't think this is super aggressive per se, as we actually don't see TY, by the way, as well, not going into Hellions. He's skipping those absolutely and completely. So skipping the Hellions here, straight into just Marines on the reactor and a siege tank, even a medevac on the way out. So TY going for a little bit of a quirky push in the early stages. Now, this means that actually if any sort of roaches do come across the map from Rogue, TY is going to find himself absolutely in an amazing position, because he's already set up with the 2 siege tanks. Those so early in the game shuts down any roach aggression. Rogue is building a bunch of overlords, but there we go. A few more drones. That was what I was waiting to see here. There's a few more Marines coming down to the low ground. All of these Marines gathering up together as we see a Zergling going to start heading out over to the right. A medevac lifts up these couple of tanks, and out onto the map we go. Overlord hanging out overhead. A lair on the way up on the main base as well. And this army just pushing out to the left-hand side now. Roaches are being made, of course, defensively. TY looking to make use of these rocks, most likely with those tanks, keep them in a very safe location while firing towards the 3rd. Love this little bunker that wants to get set up as well, but he doesn't build it. Okay, there we go. Sport Crawler is in a good place too, though, to be fair. I mean, keeps that medevac from flying in right away. As he's just letting those tanks do the damage, a couple bunkers as well, and this is not going to be easy for Rogue to break. Rogue's probably going to have to look at it flanking around the right-hand side to come through this. That way he's going to have to go just before these bunkers finish, but if they get finished up, this is going to be dangerous. Here we go, the Lings start running forwards. You can see the Marines are just caught up already and caught in that little bit of a gap, so the Zerglings aren't able to get us around. Makes this a very good trade for TY, who will start to take fire though from the Ravager, but during all of this is able to finish one of the bunkers. That SCV needs to pull away. They could actually finish the other bunker here still. As we're going to be seeing this tank on siege and just relocating a little bit further forwards. Please don't stack up though. Okay, it doesn't. Liberator as well, man. This push from TY is getting real serious real fast as Zerglings now from Rogue heading down to the bottom right-hand side of the map in terms of a counter-attack. A third CC's finished from TY. Engineering base building up as well. Marines in a tank able to turn that away. As a few of these Zerglings go down, this Roach going to get picked off as well. Queen starts to wander forwards, will not do much. Another drone or so in trouble. There's the Zerglings from the other side. And with these tanks full in siege, but not really much to be done here as the tank that is on siege is going to be able to pick away at a few of those Lings for a bit longer, I guess, despite the surround. That Liberator is going to fall as well as the SCV tries to get a bit of repair on the bunker, but that will be it. This attack is cleaned up, and obviously TY losing absolutely everything in this is a little bit painful, as there goes the final Marine as well on that left-hand side. To the top, Rogue sets up a fourth base. So fourth base on the way. TY with a tank around the bottom left-hand corner is going to run into a Ravager. Can't believe this tank's alive at the moment. He is going to get intercepted by more Roaches and Lings if he just sticks around, and maybe fighting that Ravager wasn't such a hot idea, but the medevac comes in, saves the day. That siege tank is getting out, and it's getting out alive. Wow, that's actually incredible as that Roach speed starts up, and we do see just Evo Chambers from Rogue. But I mean, look at the position TY's put himself in. Upgrade lead, building up Stimpack behind it. Third base landed in location. He's kept Rogue to a very low drone count, only 44 workers at the moment, and that's after he's already made a couple. So he's already 10 workers behind it. Yes, he's going to catch up on that now, but that means he's missing huge amounts of income up until this point, and it means he's spending lava now on drones, which might actually need to be an army, because TY is going to have medevacs and stims shortly, and he's going to start pushing across the map and dealing damage once again with a really unreasonable number of siege tanks as well. He's already got 4 tanks out here at 7 minutes after he lost one early as well. I mean, the siege tank production just has not stopped, and why would it? He's up against Roaches. Siege tanks do wonderfully against these. If this was maybe a Lingbane Hydra composition, you think more about the Widow Mines, because cleaning up the Lingbane is a bit more important. But if the Roaches is the main kind of part of this army, absolutely siege tanks are going to be the way for this. So I love the way that TY is getting himself set up so far. I love the build, love the push, and obviously it went extremely well for him. And now he's in a fantastic position as Lings will try and counter-attack around the right side on Kairos Junction. They'll attempt to get us around here, but they'll be turned away before much is achieved. And away they go back up the right-hand side. Only 2 of them left alive, so an unsuccessful counter by Rogue as TY's medevac goes for some scouting. I mean, just look at the lack of creep spread here. The Queens have been kept busy. There's barely any creep out in the center. There's barely any creep on this left side where the push came in. So nothing going on for Rogue in terms of map control. It's just another huge advantage for TY as Sim, Combat, +1/+1 upgrades. All of this coming through from TY in the next few moments, and that means it's probably time for him to get ready to push across the map, as the supply depots will come down to wall off behind this army. And away we go. TY with another attack, an attack that could be so very deadly here, as all of those upgrades are about to finish the factory. Another one of those on the way down here from TY as well. There's a couple of tanks getting the siege creep. Getting shut down also. Scan will drop a few Marines stimming off to the side, and again just pushing towards these creep teams, taking quite a lot of damage. Tanks going into siege, and TY seems to be content with the moment with just a little bit of creep clearing. He's going to start backing away. The pathing going to mess him up a little bit though. Can he save the siege tank? Not quite, but he will save the Marines at least. And something. Unfortunate little pathing there. Have to be very careful, because if your army is here and you click here, half of it will go this way, half of it will think the faster path is up around the top. So you have to be very careful with little moments like that. As the Hive now on the way up here from Rogue, we see Zerglings gathering up over on the right hand side of the map as well. A couple more medevacs coming across, and there is a command center dropping down on a 4th base. Hive starts from Rogue, but I mean, what's he going to do with it? I mean, get into Vipers, I suppose. You absolutely need something to be able to deal with these siege tanks more effectively, especially considering there's now 2 siege tanks being built at a time. If they weren't enough of a threat before, now they really will be. Obviously, Banelings have been introduced as we switch this in towards kind of Lingbane Ravager more so than a Roach Ravager army. It's something you kind of have to do as the game continues on, because the Roach Ravager on its own just doesn't trade well enough. The thing is, because the Ling Bane comes in so late here, you can still play the tank heavy count as TY, and you can kind of just play it through in towards the late game where you're going to have tanks to survive while building up into Liberator Ghost, which is technically, or usually, the follow-up that you see from the Terran players as the Zerg begins to hit their hive tech, as the Zerg begins to get set up into their next little stage of the game. As Marines and Medivacs, tanks as well, start to press forwards here. A lot of Lings already going down. Baneling or two getting picked away as well. Corrosive Vials connecting on a couple of things here and there. That tank on the right side, though, really needs some vials on it, as we see extra tanks down the bottom helping out. Those Banes didn't have speed, and they just go off on one single tank after losing so many already as well. It feels like TY is making a lot of progress here in the center of the map. That forward fourth base, by the way, I talked a lot about the base position at the start of this game, but that is not what I expected for the fourth. That's just how confident TY is to be able to hold a forward position and to be able to keep pushing forwards from a forward position, as this Bioforce now is going to push in. With the tank support, it is absolutely no way to hold this third base. I don't think for Rogue he's going to try to. Transfusions come down. The Liberators, though, are picking off units as they go. By the time the Corrosive Files get rid of the Liberators, the tanks have cleaned up so much anyways, and obviously there isn't Corrosive Files remaining to clean up the siege tanks, and so the tanks will continue to do the job here. GG for Rogue, and TY will pick up game number 1 in this best of 3 series on Kairos Junction. Game number 2 on Port Alexander. Top left hand side, our red Terran player from Splice, is TY, up against our blue Zerg bottom right, Generic Green Rings Rogue. Didn't say it at the start of the video in map number 1, guys, but of course, if you do enjoy the content, if you're enjoying the videos, do leave a like down below, leave a comment, and let's get this one with lots of views on it so we can keep on growing the channel. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't done so already as well. I will be continuing to put out these YouTube exclusive 3 times a week at the moment, is what we're still aiming for and still pretty much being successful at. So, yeah, give us a little bit of love, and I'll keep on trying my best to improve the YouTube channel in as many ways as possible. As we get into this, what does Rogue do? Already a bit of a switch up compared to game number 1. The gas in the pool is potentially going to give him the upper hand when it comes to kind of dictating the pacing of the map a little bit at the start here. Now, in the last game, TY didn't exactly look to take control of the map very much either, because he didn't take a Reaper, and he went straight to the reactor, went straight to Marines, didn't even build Hellions. So there was no map control early on the map for TY, and that's why it was so impressive as well that Rogue had so little creep spread, despite the lack of Hellions. It was like, what? How does that even happen? So here in game number 2, I mean, we'll see what TY does, but this is going to be a gas pool first, and that does open up aggressive options for Rogue, and things like skipping the Reaper would be very bad against this. But TY is not going to do that twice in a row, because it does become abusable if you do it too many times. So this time the Reaper on the way out, now that will give him some information, but it also gives you that odd little situation where the Reaper is maybe out of position as the Zergling's coming across the map, and then maybe you have a delay on your command center. There's definitely a few different ways this can go. It's 4 Zerglings, so not 2, not 6. And it's kind of that real middling ground. It's not 2 which just go for the SCV kill and a little bit of a delay. It's not 6 where sometimes if the Reaper is really out of position, you can even force a cancel on the CC. Some players would just prefer to cancel that, rebuild it instantly on the high ground rather than dealing with 6lings when their Reaper is all the way in their opponent's natural and beyond. We actually get to see the build of TY right away here. 2-1-1 opening. So the second barrack started up, and this pretty much only means it's going to be factory starport into that 4:45 5-minute 16 Marine drop. Because what else do you really get a second racks for this soon in TvZ? Now, this is a build that fell out of popularity a lot simply because Zergs figured out very well how to deal with it. But it's still a very good build when you mix it into a series. It fell out of popularity and it isn't used every game now. But every now and then when you're in the middle of a series and you just crack it out of nowhere, it's a good build to just kind of fall back to and just to... Because the core concepts of the build still make a lot of sense. Even if Zergs know how to react, you can still deny creep spread, you can apply pressure early in the game. And this, of course, also kind of messes with the idea of Rogue as well, especially if you compare it with, or combine it with the build that TY chose in game number 1. Because if you think about what TY did in game number 1, he went for that Marine tank attack. Now, what does Rogue know about what this is? All he sees is, okay, there was a Reaper this time, sure, but now I'm also going to see Marines being built, and he doesn't know what the follow-up is at all, as these Zerglings will get pushed away. Rogue does have Ling speed, and we'll use that to escape if that one Zergling just gets out of there. But yeah, Rogue is really blind when it comes to information and doesn't really know whether it's going to be siege tanks as a follow-up or a bunch of stim Marines, so has to play a bit in the dark. And again, I think, like, if you think back, a few months ago, if you ever saw a build like this, you would just think 2-1-1 right away. But again, especially after what TY did in the first game, Rogue has to approach this one with extreme caution, because it could go very wrong if he doesn't. Send up into this, going to be seeing the Stim Pack continuing through Evolution Chamber on the way up in the natural expansion as well. Third hatchery on the way down on this right hand side. A couple more Zerglings running across the map. Reaper continuing to move around as well. Two supply jeepers continue to build up in this wall off, and again the few Zerglings there, Marines there, sorry, try and turn those Zerglings away. One of those things already taking quite a bit of damage. That Stim Pack is halfway done. Starport going to lift up and drop down onto a reactor. So there will be a couple medevacs, of course, to line up with this Stim Pack timing. And those Marines getting ready to come across the map. Here's a Zergling hanging out from Rogue up to the top side. Still just trying to take a little bit and keep a little bit of map control for the moment. Keep a bit of information on the maps, just see if there's anything that tries to come out through this top side, etc. Same with the Zergling on the front. We'll see what direction TY is going to take with the medevacs. And he's going to have 16 Marines. Exactly? No, it depends if he takes this one that's about to pop out. I think he will, because the medevac's going to pop. Has to move over here. This final Marine will come out. And there we go. The perfect 16. And out he will go. Now he goes out through the front. That Zergling, though, will not see this. So medevacs have been able to avoid information from Rogue so far. Rogue is not going to be able to know this is coming necessarily, but he is preparing for it. I think he's seen enough to figure out what's going on. He's making lings, he's getting more queens, he's getting that carapace upgrade as well, which is very good against any Marine opener, because early in the game, lings take a lot more shots than they deal when you're up against Marines, so the carapace goes a long way to negating the effectiveness of those Marines early on. It does a lot more than the melee upgrade would do, for example, because those lings will struggle to close down the gap. A lot of the times those Marines are in little gaps and crevices where the lings can't get a proper surround. The carapace will always help those Zerglings out, because they're always going to take damage from Marines, and it helps the queens a little bit as well, so it really buffers up and doubles up as a way to help out early on here. And if you have to search it into mech as well, it means you've already got carapace for your roaches too, so it is going to be a pretty solid way to open at the moment, as we do see the creep chambers going down. Some Zerglings coming forward. Marines going to get lifted up here, and TY is escaping out through the top side of the map now. Bale Nest about halfway done. We're going to be seeing the lair coming up to completion in the next few moments. +1 attack and combat shields as follow-ups from TY. No sign of a third CC just yet. Now, a third CC does come down pretty late with a 2-1-1, because you're very Marine heavy. It's taking up a lot of minerals to build these tanks as a follow-up too. It should come down in the next few moments. You can see he's starting to stack up more than 300 minerals. So this should be about time for the third base. We see this SCV coming across. I wonder if that was meant to build the third base on location, or if it's coming across for some other reason, maybe trying to repair that medevac, and the medevac's just like, no, I shall not be repaired. I shall continue to run across the map as queens, banelings, and Zerglings gathering up from Rogue. It gets set up. We're going to be seeing those Zerglings trying to come in over from the left-hand side. Crawler taking some damage, another bunker dropping down too. So TY again trying to use a kind of a bunker tank push, and I kind of like it. Those tanks are definitely tucked away in a corner. If only Ling Bane, it's not going to be an easy breakout at all. +1 attack about to finish up from a Terran player as well, which means that he will have an upgrade to fight back that carapace of Rogue. And that combat shield obviously makes those Marines so much tankier. So here we go. Those tanks going to have to turn and start getting some shots off onto those Zerglings shortly, as the Marines trying to unload on the low ground, but the Queen's on the low ground as well. Bane's crashing into the first bunker. It will go down, and those tanks are going to be surrounded. The Marines on the low ground still fighting here. Will the Queens be saved? They do pull back. They're taking a lot of damage still. There we go. Transfusions are traded out. Wow, this isn't even a cleanup from Rogue. How is that not a cleanup from Rogue? These two tanks, how on earth did they survive? That's actually a little bit crazy, the fact they are still alive in this. As we see now, these Marines and tanks going to be able to get even more of these Queens, as transfusions are not dropped in time. They'll drop into the main base, hasn't done much. Zerglings deal with that pretty well. As we again continue to see those couple of Marines now currently fighting against this Queen, dealing a little bit more damage. Here we go, Zerglings one more time. The Marines are backed up against the corner, so they can't get fully surrounded as easily. As that siege tank fires until its last breath. We'll even see the medevacs coming over to heal up these last couple of units. Go on, save that Marine. Wow. Just leave him there to die then. Go on. I get it, medevacs. You want to be kind of part of the cinematic at the Wings of Liberty when they need Kerrigan. Like, whatever. I see how it is. You want to be like that. Be like that. As we see Zerglings though from Rogue gathering up on the bottom side. We're up to 4 bases here in the next few moments. And TY is only just now starting to take the third base, so you've got to keep that in mind. During all of this time, TY has only been on 2 bases, so while these have been extremely good trades, 3,000 resources lost difference. He needed to get really good trades because he was really delaying the base compared to what we usually see. Interesting that TY loads up just all of his medevacts and just goes for a massive drop. I didn't think that would be the way he'd approach this as a follow-up here at all. You can see the Zerg army supply is really struggling though. 28 army, now 36 against the 58 of the Terran, so about a 20 army supply difference, and obviously it's only really Ling Bane as well, right? I mean, and even then, mostly just Lings. There's only 5 Banelings in this. Now, there is gas to build up more than just 5 Banelings, but it takes a little bit of time as we'll see a counterattack darting into the third base. Looks as though this will strike successfully, and already SCV's having to evacuate as Marines stim in from the left-hand side. Fourth base goes down to this push. Obviously, Rogue just saying there's no way I come in and save this with so many tanks up on the high ground. I mean, it's kind of the smart play, right? But the issue is, it's the smart play that puts him behind, because it was a smarter play from TY. He's manufactured himself into a position here, TY, where it's very difficult for him to make the wrong maneuver with something like that, because it's either going to be a very bad trade yet again for Rogue, and then he really can't keep up, or he gives up a base, and if he gives up a base, well, you know, that's one of the main goals of a Terran player, keeping the Zerg down to 3 bases, then keeping them down to 4 bases. So the more you delay that, the better it's going to be for you as Zerglings trying to run forwards here. There's a few Banes morphed in on the top side. TY is actually starting to come through this top pathway, so unfortunately for those Banes, they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. They'll get a couple of Marines, but not as much as they were hoping for. They were obviously hoping to connect into this mineral line. There's a huge amount of Zerglings trying to get to the natural. Oh, but they're trapped in! The wall up over here gets raised as well, so they can't even find their way out. And if they run out to the top right-hand side, they're just going to run to the rest of the army. Okay, sorry, there was actually a bit of a gap there. Maybe Rogue even thought he was trapped in, though, because honestly, it really looked as though he was. I assumed those deepers were just down initially. Maybe he ran in through that gap too. But then I feel like he would have run out as well. So, a few moments as we do have the Zerglings back into the center. More Lings, more Banes gathering up. +2 melee, +2 Carapace continuing through as well. Hive coming up to being about halfway done as a few Marines and tanks and spread out. See where they're going to come in from. Liberators in the top right, as you see Marines over here picking their way through a bunch of these Zerglings. So the counterattack from Rogue is finally going to get something done, because it'll at least deal some damage. This base up here, SCV's getting wiped out. And he's still got to pull TY all the way back to be able to deal with this. I mean, this is, again, good progress from Rogue. It's kind of steps in the right direction, breaks out, and actually gets a few Lings away as well. That's nice, because one of the big issues usually when you come out of a run-by like this is when the counterattack of the Terran player arrives, you actually don't have many units left. So saving a few Zerglings that can maybe counterattack again, it means you don't have to then bring more of your main forces away. The Signals is going to go for this depot, which is only being repaired by 1 SCV. A few Marines here is going to be enough to scare it back, but again, TY's whole army turns around. And sitting on only 47 SCVs, Rogue on 74. It's just the army supply, TY, that looks absolutely terrifying if you're in Rogue's position at the moment. A 32 army supply disadvantage with Lings and Banes. Right, I mean, that is terrifying. You're going to need some amazing Baneling connections, and I think the Burrow is an amazing investment, right? Because you absolutely have to try and find something a bit different here. TY is scanning a fair amount, though, so unsure how effective that will be as Lings charge in once again. That third base already being evacuated. The Marines, the Marauders, fighting alongside SCVs here as this tank continues to fight away as well. Has picked up 15 kills on the defense. Top right, fourth base of Rogue given up. He just runs straight down to the bottom side, saturates the bottom side base instead, where this drop is not going to be able to do all that much, so that is cleaned up. But it gives TY this position once again above the third base, and what on earth does Rogue do about that? Hasn't even got the gases on this base. Now obviously he's not been playing with gas in the main base either because he's been so Ling heavy, but I mean, I don't think he would have been able to get these gases if he wanted to, as Lings and Banes starting to roll forwards here. There's a lot of Banes continue to crash through into those Marines. A lot of Marines going down as on the third base you see these Marines have been doing a pretty good job as well. And again, it's trades from TY that are good enough to then just keep rebuilding, to keep on pushing. He's built up a 7,000 resources lost difference throughout the course of this game. And this has really just been a show of dominance from TY from start through to finish here yet again. I mean, I guess some of those run-bys have slowed him down and made him err on the side of caution, pulling back with armies. But in general, it has absolutely been TY, 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 and especially in supplies, TY is the one to look at here. Just doing fantastically is. We're going to be seeing tanks and Marines gathering up together between the natural and the third base. I mean, We are at that point from TY of just pushing and pushing and pushing and just never stopping, right? Why on earth would you need to? And the thing is as well, as you push and push, you put on so much pressure. The Zerg will never afford an infestation pit. They will never afford a hive safely. And getting up into hive tech is going to be almost impossible. Now, that not only sucks because you're not going to have access to Vipers or Ultras, you're also not going to have access to the final 3 free upgrades, which is something that TY is already starting. So, every moment that passes by right now seems to be getting better and better for TY, and as Rogue just runs forwards with units and doesn't really find anything. There was a little liberated marine drop over here, killing some drones and getting this base. You know, Rogue just says GG, and TY will walk away with the series 2-0 here in this best of 3. A fun little TvZ for us today, guys. I hope you did enjoy. Again, please do check out Laughing Games, and thank him very much for A, making the replays purchasable, and B, making the setting up the tournament in the first place. And thank you so much for watching today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys on Thursday for another YouTube exclusive. And tomorrow we've got some China Team Out Championship uploads as well. Also, if you're still listening, a very quick shout out to the WardiTV European League starting up every Wednesday and Thursday evening. Going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out too as we get that started this very week if you're watching the week this video came out. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Have a great day.